Morning, good morning. Have you heard of the Jupiter Exchange? You talking about the swap platform? Hmm. Interesting. I wonder what the liquidity is like. It sounds like a bad idea. 150 times leverage. 5 mil max. Surely. Yeah, it's a good application. Actually useful. Doing taxes on a platform like that is going to be a pain in the ass, though. There's no options trading for crypto. There are options on the larger crypto names. Like BTC has options, but they're a different style of options. They're European. Yeah, you should never expect smaller names to have options. They would make no sense for market makers to do that. You should only expect optionable items to be highly liquid, uh, decently volatile, and have large interest. It can't be niche, or it's not worth their time. Once things are liquid enough and have enough investors, they want different ways to be able to hedge their investment, right? So options then come into the table as a hedging vehicle for larger market participants. But you're never going to get that on something like a garbage coin. It just doesn't make sense for market makers to have options available. But even right now, Bitcoin is highly what's the word? Reactive to the options walls on uh, and the expirations. It has been for years. $30 until new 15s. Just kind of consolidating here. Holding our VWAP as resistance up at like 50, and currently now below POC at 18s on NQ, and rotating down to our lower edge. Got some buy side liquidity here, but I'm not sold that we're holding this. I think we probably make a new low. That'd be my guess, but as of right now, just an inside candle with 10 seconds left until new 15. There's your new low. See how reactive this area is. I'm gonna have to clean up this chart. I've got a lot of mess down here. This is NQ ADR. If I had to guess, we're probably headed to 600. Don't know how bumpy of a ride it's going to be to get there, but I would guess that we're aiming for this liquidity down here.
US stocks extend full S&P 500 down 1%.
Let me turn up the bot. It was a little quiet. I'm just kind of expecting this to be one more leg down into that like 600 area. Rejecting ADR so far, watching our low, seeing if it's going to chop up here for a bit. Not sure. Say 600 is a good first target, and then like 570 next if we don't see a strong reaction off of 600. I will be right back. I'm gonna grab a sweater. It's a bit chilly here. Decent reaction so far from our low 600s. Just watching to see if we can hold our mid here at our like 25-30 for a push down, or if we rotate back up to that 45. One sec, I'll be right back. There's our 570 target. Straight to it, an immediate bounce. Feels good. See how reactive this edge is into 600s. Should be your first risk off if you are playing off of 570. Watching to see if offer can now hold here, or if we can get back into this range. Pretty solid rejection so far off of our 600 edge. Now just coming back down to our lows, watching to see if a higher low can be put in, or if this is going to continue downward for longer. I could see us needing to chop here between 570 and 610 for a little bit first. If this higher low is able to maintain, we'll be looking for just a re-entry back into this range, right? And then rotation through. Unsure as of yet. $350. Mm, I'd have to look at a higher time frame chart. You've got liquidity at like 480. If we don't hold this liquidity here at 560, then we'll go down to 480, and then from 480, kind of no man's land for this entire region. This will be a really big shift if we don't see buy side just kind of be able to maintain down here. So potentially 350, right? But like that's a bad move to occur if we do end up going down there for the bulls. Like a complete push below this, right? Like if we come down into 350, like to me, then we're coming all the way down. I don't know. Seems like a complete failure from buyers if we do that. So it could be a potential good target, but you might want to hold a runner if we do head down there, because the market looks pretty garbage if that does occur. Retesting our low. I'm assuming that this just kind of continues to push down here off of another failure. We shall see. This is ES into our ADR edge, and RTY kind of coming down into a previous area of balance here into 67s. You have pretty clear sell side trend, so if you have gotten into a decent position so far, it's probably worth attempting to hold at least a runner if trend is going to continue instead of just trying to scalp this over and over again. But just keep that in mind that if trend continues, right, like it's just downside. We haven't seen anything yet to let us know that a low is in on the higher time frame. But yeah, we've now filled this liquidity here off footprint. Going to delete this. And then we're just going to mark this low. And mark this here. Do I ever trade crypto? You mean like scalp? I don't really scalp crypto anymore. I used to do a lot of leveraged crypto trading. Now I just kind of throw like $500 in memes and then let it run. I'll put like 500 in a bunch of names that I'm interested in and then see if they pay or not. Usually the ones that win big, and the ones that lose everything, and then just kind of make up the difference. My strategy has been basically uh, invest small in multiple names, and then immediately once I'm up 100%, take out initial investment and then let that run, and never really touch it unless I think like the move's kind of done. And then I'll take out another 25%, and then I'll just leave that runner as just a it does what it wants. Either it continues going up or it goes to zero. It doesn't really affect me. It's a lot less stressful doing that. That's at least how I played the last run of meme names on Soul. I can't manage futures trading plus like actively trade crypto. It's a disservice to both markets. Trying to do both, like I just can't keep up. So then they both just end up kind of suck at both when I'm focused on everything. Having a more hands-off approach has helped a lot, especially with the volatility in crypto. It's like it's so easy to just want to like get out on a couple like little violent chops. As soon as you like are under the impression that everything is trash and the entire market is a Ponzi scheme, and you're playing the memification, and you're not lying to yourself anymore that it's the future of finance, things become a lot easier because you're not so invested emotionally. But I still have like accounts on a couple of exchanges that I can do leverage trading in. I just don't. I mean, I don't know, Dan. If I had all my money in Bitcoin, I wouldn't be mad. Still early for Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe. I think this goes down to our 485 if I had to guess. I'm watching for reactions back into 560 here, seeing if the offer can hold, but I don't really see any real levels here until we get back down to that liquidity near 480 on NQ. Fizz RTY ADR. Let me look at what my BTC average is. I think it's around 18K, maybe 15. I don't know. Yeah, 16.6. It's my cost basis. I just hold it. There's nothing else to do. Yeah, that's all I've got for NQ. Is just liquidity down at 85. There's not really much here to work with. So either current order flow shifts and we see something that breaks downtrend, or I just think that trend takes us down to the liquidity at 85. We'll see. I mean, this is Russell into ADR, so maybe we get a reversal with Russell holding ADR and we get back over 62 or something. I don't know. And yes, recovers our ADR low. The only thing I can really think of. If not, I just expect this to bear flag and then continue.
It's been 10 minutes time now at the bottom of the hour. See the release of the EIA's weekly natural gas change. Forecast looks for a draw of 100 BCF on the prior draw of 125 BCF.
Why are we so bloody? No clue. I do options occasionally. I used to do a lot more options and then I switched over to futures. It just makes a lot more sense for day trading. I'll do more longer term option stuff now, usually just hedging. Unless I'm feeling like doing a little gamba overnight. We've got a staff member who does all options, and I let him handle that aspect, and I just do futures. Russell ADR low holding so far. Again, I'm not really expecting a ton from this. Just back to our 600. Need to see like a pretty clear recovery, or this is just a retest of POC from previous candle here up at 608. Just kind of expecting this to bear flag until we see a shift. Maybe we get a reversal if we can start to build over 600s and close, but we need to be able to do that within like the next 6 minutes. How do I know? It's not that I know. It's just there's a rhythm to movement, and once you've kind of like watched it enough, I kind of know what I want to see. So I mean, the market can do whatever the hell it wants, right? Like I don't, I'm not a genie, but if a reversal was going to happen, we would want to see buyers continue to try to hold here and develop out this candle over the next 4 minutes now, was 6 minutes, and start to really show interest over 600 for a right side of the V to start occurring. It'll be a new 30-minute candle and a new 15-minute candle, right? So it'll just be a really nice period for the market to show a shift in trend. Yeah, that's all. So you have multiple time frames that would be looking for a shift there. Something to also keep in mind, bend over, is our IB close happens in 2.5 minutes. So that also lines up with my thinking. So that we should kind of have an idea of what we want to do once initial balance closes. Either a reversal right through our initial balance and then a hold above, or our initial balance low kind of holding as resistance and then a continuation down. Giving myself a time frame in a in area of interest, right, both in time and in price, allows me to kind of step away from the trade and not overanalyze chop and wait for either price to reach the point that I want, right, over 600s and hold, or the candle close, like what happens into that, right? It's giving me two variables to play off of instead of trying to trade random chop before either of the things I want happen. So it kind of just helps me stay framed and not focus in on, you know, the individual 15-second candles, but how we're interacting as we develop out this candle. I'm sorry that that was a little yappy, but that's probably the best way I can describe that.
One minute remaining.
Thirty seconds until candle close and IP close. Russell new low. ES testing our low. NQ higher low.
10 seconds. A draw of 93 BCF, a draw of 93 BCF, which is higher than the expected draw of 100 BCF.
Russell new low. NQ opening at POC of previous candle.
We have posted out the weekly EIA nat gas storage report on the feed.
Watching our reaction into our 30 offer on retest here on NQ, seeing if we're going to get a new low. I've seen no signs that this isn't just a bear flag and a continuation down so far. If you're playing off of 30s, this is your first risk off. 25 points into our wick low, taking it out. give this a second. Russell holding it slow. Nice job, Kowalski. You as well, man. Does anyone know if Mario traded yesterday? Did he get on after I left? He was on PoE. Great. You're just watching to see if this 30 bid can hold. If it can, you should be able to rotate back up to like 57, 60 area on NQ, just filling this LVN. If offer is able to hold here, I'd expect a rotation down to 85s. So just kind of keeping an eye on this. Watching for Russell to start losing momentum for our next leg. If RTY wants to continue making higher lows, then I don't expect much on NQ or ES short term for downside. You need to see that loss of momentum on Russell to lead, just like on every single leg of this move so far. Shear rotation from 30 hold back to our 60 edge, just filling that LVN. Keep an eye to see if sell side traps here. What I'd be looking for from sellers is for us to look just a bit over and then really slam that offer below 30s for a rotation down to 85. That's what I would do if I was a seller. Just trapping again, waiting on Russell to find this low and then start to lead down. Yeah, I tend to find that when we're below our ADR and holding it as resistance, it's usually not a great idea to look for mean reversion trades until we see a bit more from buyers. Just kind of playing trend down. Once we've already broken our daily range low and shown that we don't want to maintain what has been our average move over the last 10 or 14 days, we want to call this like an outlier, right? And you don't really want to be playing for reversion on an outlier day until we like have very clear proof that we want to rotate back up. A day where we don't trade, don't hold our ADR low or ADR high. That would be a pretty easy way to tell you that it's more volatile than on average. It's a pretty clear outlier. Remember, like ADR is just, it's a calculation based off of the high and lows over the last, it depends on the calculation, but 10, 14, 21 days. And it's taking the average size of that move and then creating basically a volatility range that the market will trade within if it's going to continue the same kind of trading. So when we aren't holding, if that's no longer kind of holding true to the average size or average, yeah, I guess size is a good word. The average kind of range size, you want to be kind of not concerned, but you should be aware, like, oh yeah, this is an outlier. Like we're no longer maintaining the norm. You usually get those kind of like more volatile days on trend days, right? It's a very good hold so far off of our 30s. Russell is also able to hold our lows, so there's no initiative bid. Initiative offer to push us below. Russell is leading these moves so far. When it finds resistance, we find resistance across the whole market. When it finds support, we get large explosive moves on ES and NQ. So I'm going to continue using that as my my leading signal until that stops working, because it seems to be very reactive. Later, Cass. Have a good one, man. We have a minute 50 left. I probably won't take a trade until this candle closes. This looks fine though for bids if we're going to maintain. If not, it's going to be a really nice trap for shorts. Just keeping an eye on Russell to see if it can maintain a higher low above our previous structure here. Same thing, right, on NQ. Can these sellers now become buyers? Can these sellers now become buyers? If so, then short-term uptrend makes a lot of sense. Again, we got to get over this 600 area, right? If we can start to build in here, we can then rotate back up to 640. If this wants to continue to remain as our sell side, all we're going to do here is trap and then rotate through, creating a new low with new liquidity trapped above. So it's really important to see how we close into this new 15.
So, US National Security Council spokesperson Kirby says North Korean troops conducted mass assaults on Ukraine troops.
How do you know which one is leading the market at any given time? I just use my eyes. Like, I don't want to be a dick, but like, we just look at the reactions that have occurred so far, and we compare them on NQ and ES and RTY, and we see which one's kind of leading on the day. Which one's reactive, which one's not. Sometimes tech leads, sometimes Russell leads. So like this is kind of like the big comparison for me. Is we got this really strong move to the downside on NQ in the morning. And this downside move subsided, right? Kind of came to a stalling point when Russell was able to break out, right? So NQ found this little lull in the market while Russell was able to try to push up. And as soon as we started to see that weakness on the Russell at our highs, that's when NQ started to really show that weakness, and then we had full market participation in a one direction move, right? So the idea isn't that one's leading or lagging, it's that one's diverging, and then when that divergence stops and then you have confluence across all three, you get strong directional moves in one, right? That's what we want to be trading. I don't really want to be trading when we have divergence in our markets. I want to be trading when we have confluence. Because what does that give us? That gives us significant moves with less chop that have a lot more potential for acceleration, where we can make massive points very quickly and not have to stay in a trade. When everything's moving to the downside, you have an elevator down instead of a staircase down, right? So as soon as this comes into our highs and we start to lose that momentum, that's when we get our large sell on NQ for that secondary leg, because we also have the Russell moving down with it. So you can just go back, whenever you hop online and you start looking at charts in the morning, compare a few names and see if there's any leading or lagging signals, and what happens when those signals converge. Your trading is going to get a lot better once you wait for
US
that
stocks extending full, Nasdaq down 1%, the S&P 500 also down 1%.
Convergence of everything kind of coming together into the same direction for trend. Once things start to show that they're all weak, you want to be playing that weakness together. That'll give you the most significant moves with the highest probability. You can kind of ignore everything else. Hopefully that's helpful. If there was like one thing that I could give you as like a sure way to add probability to your trading setup, it's doing this. This is like one of the first things that I always teach, because it has by far the highest success rate as like a single variable that you can add to your trading plan to become more profitable. Cuts out a lot of the noise. And if you want to get even more technical with it, watch the video called tick divergence that we have on our YouTube channel. And you can add tick confluence with also overall market direction. So you then keep an eye on Russell as well as your tick structure. And when we're in a oversold or overbought area, you can then look for inflection points for short-term scalps off of those edges. But just got to build up the pattern recognition. There's a lot of potential here for a reversal on the higher time frame if we could hold here. Again, we got to build over 600s, but we would be at least able to mean revert back up to like 720 if we can start to build here. First signs is going to be a bid back over this like 600, 610, and then a secondary buyer really starting to step in over 640. If we can do that, then I'd expect a rotation back up to 720. Until then, we're just doing nothing here, just chopping. trying to build out a base, flirting with buyers stepping in. I'll show you what I'm looking at on a higher time frame. So this is our 15-minute chart. What do we see is happening here? We have two very distinct auctions. We have this lower auction, right? And we have this upper auction here. And then we have this LVN in between these two areas.
Numbers. Crude oil inventories forecasted a draw of 0.6 million from the prior draw of 0.934 million. Range sees a build of 1 million to a draw of 3 million. Gasoline inventories.
I'll let this guy talk and then I'll keep talking.
Million on the prior build of 2.348 million. Distillate inventories forecast a draw of 1 million on the prior draw of 3.18 million. And inventories of crude in Cushing, the prior was a build of 0.108 million.
So what do we want to see happen here? Well, I want to see this 600, right? Our edge of this top distribution, or this lower distribution, right? I want to see this become supportive and show a willingness to transact here on our tail of this distribution, right? Of this this lower auction. And if we can do that, I then expect us to then be able to rotate back through, back up into our 700, 720 area. And that would then lead us back into our upper auction that we traded here before the breakdown. And our full mean reversion target would be up into the 760, which would be the upper tail of this auction. So what we're watching for is, can we build here above our 600? Can we rotate into the mid of this LVN at our 640? And from here, can we then rotate back up into our upper auction? If we can, then we should be able to get back in here and then rotate through this, right? And then we can figure out what we want to do from here. That's kind of like my thought process right now. Is your first step is, can we build in this upper area? If the answer is yes, then we should look for 640. If 640 can then become supportive, we should then be able to look for 700, 720. If 720 can become supportive, then we look for our full reversion up into our 760. If this fails here, right, we can't build over, and we look into this 600, 640, and we show zero interest, we're going to be looking for a rotation back below 600s for that seller to step in, and then a rotation through this range back down to our lows. Just rotating this lower auction with new liquidity now trapped here. Those are like my two scenarios, but this first scenario looks pretty pretty viable right now, right, with how we're building. If we can start to really show interest here and hold up in this upper auction, then a rotation through the LVN back up makes a lot of sense. This isn't even like a long signal for a bigger move. This is just a reversion back to our main seller that's located here. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on this. So far, we're still seeing the same seller here, right? Like there's still no interest to get back in. But if we can start to build, that's when things look really interesting for the market, because then it's just a rotation where okay, we're trying to find acceptance here. Now let's get back in. We rotate back up to our 640. We then build this out. If we can start to build above, then we can rotate through that LVN, and that gets us back up into our 700, 720 target, right? Just like we just drew. So really watching to see how this edge holds, and if we can start to build anything significant above. If not, then this is just where sellers are going to be, and then we're just rotating in between here and here for right now. So let's keep an eye on this.
So in 5 minutes time now at the top of the hour, see the release of the EIA weekly inventories numbers. Crude oil inventories forecast a draw of 0.6 million on the prior draw of 0.934 million. The range sees a build of 1 million to a draw of 3 million expected. Gasoline inventories forecast a draw of 0.5 million on the prior build of 2.348 million. Distillate inventories forecast a draw of 1 million on the prior draw of 3.18 million. And inventories of crude in Cushing, the prior was a build of 0.108 million.
So we're just going to keep an eye on this 590 to 600 and see if the bid can maintain, and we can start to show acceptance above. It's just going to be a patience game here where we have a lot of liquidity trying to set up above, right? So it's either these guys are going to get trapped here, or we're actually able to show some sort of success, and then we'll look for the rotation up to 640. Nothing really yet to write home about, right? We're just looking for very strong reactions off of this yellow box. That's all this is. If we start to see a lack of that, right, and we start to show interest below, then we should completely cancel out our idea that we want to rotate up further. And then it's just going to be rotating back down to this like 60 area. So again, really keeping an eye on how we build out here at this 90 to 600. If bids can maintain, that looks really promising for a rotation at least back up to 640. Russell still maintaining our highs, building higher lows. As long as that momentum is still holding, we're in an okay situation. For ES, just keep an eye on our edge here, on recovery of our value. As long as we are maintaining above and trying to build this out, there is hope for bids to be able to kind of react off of this level for rotations back up to 27 for our VWAP test. If, again, buyers can't do anything here, we're going to be looking for that offer to really show strength below 90s and then re-offer that and then push downward. All right, we got a minute left, and we're testing our 90 edge now. Let's see how we interact here. Hopefully giving us our next trading opportunity.
1 minute remaining. I'll lead with the EIA crude oil inventories. So just to redact the prior timers there, so the EIA crude inventories have actually been pushed back thanks to their proximity to the holidays, actually being posted at 1 p.m. Eastern time, not at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So again, EIA crude inventory is not coming up at the top of the hour, they're coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Apologies for the confusion.
Four seconds until new 15s, holding where we need to so far. Lots of sell side trying to push down from here at 90. So far being eaten Welcome to the stream, man. Glad I could help. When did it come out? You know, like today? I'll watch it this weekend, probably. You saw it already, Doves. What? You already watched the full season? That's crazy. Okay. I think buy side invalidation happens below 80s. What you want to see is this 90 really offer, or this is just going to be a bid. Russell's still holding, which is giving me hope that buyers are going to be able to maintain, but right now it still looks very cloudy on direction. We know we've got buyers trapped into 610 right now, and we know sellers are really attempting to slam this thing down at 590. We're just waiting to see how this develops out. Sell side really needs to show acceleration below this 80 to 90, and then we should be able to rotate back down to 50s if that occurs. I didn't see a viable entry personally, so I'm not in anything, but I'll wait for this move to finish and then we'll figure out what we want to do. It's going to where we thought. I just didn't see a great entry personally. I see the entry in hindsight, but I didn't see it live, so sucks, but it is what it is. $85s was a really solid offer that got put in here for the leg down, but yeah, there's a really good footprint entry. Here, let me actually explain that in a bit more detail. Do we see this interaction here? This is what was really important, and I should have recognized this a bit quicker. Is this look below R90 and then offer, and then acceleration. Big size started to step in here at our 85s for this push down, showing that offer is actually going to be able to hold. I thought it was going to be a bit more reactive off of our 80s and then retesting, but I didn't recognize that the selling block was here at the time. But you know, it is what it is. You can't catch them all. But structurally, the move's playing how we thought. I just wasn't fast enough in the draw. This is our 50 target, so if you did take that short, I think this is a great first target as we rotate back down into this 40 to 50, just POC. Don't really expect a ton here. Just watching to see if this liquidity is going to hold as supportive or not. So far, we're seeing some absorption at 50s. Just kind of expect a retest of at least 75, 80. And then we watch to see how the offer is. We rotate into that 75, 80. If sell side trend is going to continue to hold, we'll just keep an eye on that. I'm just going to put a channel in this for visual aid. Really keeping an eye on Russell for this movement down. Again, when market's in sync, that's what we want to be playing. So far, no change. 50 bid held where we thought liquidity would be. Offer held 80s where we thought it would be. Just rotating between the two, waiting for a direction to be decided. Small bounce on Russell, allowing for this chop to occur on NQ, yes. Downtrends persisting, though, across the board. Watching this Russell low. See if it's going to start leading again to the down. These momentum plays with Russell are really great. This is a great first risk off into 40s. Watch for acceleration below on any sort of retest. Into this 50 to 60. Russell leading down. New 15s opening here now. There isn't a ton here. We're just going to be keeping an eye on our reaction off of the buy side liquidity that's at like 20. 29. This looks like a noise to me so far in NQ while we just wait for Russell to figure out what it wants to do. Russell testing our low. We need to see Russell break this low or expect a violent move up to on the upside on NQ. If we hold this low, I don't expect anything short term from sell side. We have someone who's like actively trying to maintain the bid here on 50s and 50-60, right? So if this holds on our low, I expect this to be very reactive because NQ is trying to maintain a higher low. We need to see like a pretty strong acceleration below this for this buyer to be off sides, and then we can start to rotate down. So I'm just kind of really keeping an eye on this because this is a very reactive pivot that we've got here with NQ trying to maintain a higher low. This is just a footprint chart. It's just a chart type. If you're on TradingView, you can look it up as a volume footprint. Watching this retest on Russell here into our high. Watching to see if we can hold above. I'd want to see something like this occur. loss of momentum here on Russell can lead to down on NQ. Again, I'm just really keeping an eye on this area, because if this is going to hold, then we can just rotate fully back up, and NQ can then do its own thing, right? Just rotating back up to this edge. Our reversion target here on NQ is just into this 90, 95. Need the midday slowdown. Again, looking for this 90, 95 as your first risk off for NQ. I'd like to see a pretty strong retest of this area, 90.95 on NQ if it's going to hold. Russell's still leading upside off of our hold of our low. It has a bit more room that it can rotate back up to our seller at 62.6. We can see on footprint we also have a pretty solid bid that's tried to step up here. This is why I'm looking for that retest to see how we interact with this liquidity here. You're playing off this 90.95, risk off into this 610. Start top of range here on NQ. Next target above will be 625 if we show any sort of willingness to trade over 610. I am flat here into 22. We'll look to see how we now rotate this. There's potential for a rotation up into our 50 if you're willing to hold for the full choppiness here. But I am going to be more excited about playing this upper edge and getting back in then. Very nice rebid off of our hold over 90s, just like we talked about for this push up. I am happy with it. Ten seconds until new 15s. This is your reversion target here into 50s. New 15s opening now. I'll look to see if this area can build out. We can get something like this to build here, and then I'll look over. Awesome. If this look over just wants to hold originally, that's fine too. The reason why I was a bit wary about this area is just with Russell into our target here for a loss of momentum potential, as well as NQ just stepping up into our top of range. Right, we know our seller is positioned here, so it's better to risk off a bit because I don't know how reactive the level will be or if I'm going to be able to get filled. So I'd rather take profit as we approach into our target than at our target exactly. And now I'm going to be keeping an eye here for a bid to see if we can hold. Shove down. I missed my secondary entry into 25s. Feels bad, man. Now I gotta wait to see if we get this acceptance over 40s. See, the idea here is like this would have been the ideal entry, right? This that pullback that we were looking for, so that you could be half risked off just on the retest of this high, and then just leaving a runner for continuation. Now, because I didn't get filled down here, I've got to wait to see how we interact in this area. If we can start to build here, awesome for this rotation up. But my risk is just so much higher because we have so much more room to retrace downside wise. So I have to be pretty accurate now with my execution, missing this low. Just waiting for this to figure out what it wants to do. Watching for the Russell high or low while we build here between 25 and 45. What shape? I think it can be argued that this is either a lowercase b or a double distribution that's forming. There's a very clear D distribution down here, right? And then we have this smaller auction above us. But there's a very clear balance in the lows, which is giving us a D profile to work off of. And then we have a smaller auction that's above us here, just off of this secondary move, right? Where we had chop, and then we had another leg down. So the way that I usually view it is just like what we talked about earlier when we were discussing this, is that we have this lower auction from our, we're now in the LVN, right? Between the 40 level that we talked about, which is our high here. And we're looking to see if we can hold here for this rotation back up to this 700 to 720 area to retest this auction here. So it's either we break a balance, right? That's the idea, is either this balance edge is going to hold and then we rotate back down, trading within this balance auction to the lows, or we're going to fill this structure, right, with us bidding here at 40s, and this is going to allow us to trade back up into this upper auction. This is the plan that we had before this move occurred. So, yep. I think the day kind of starts as that lowercase b, and then we get secondary the secondary auction is going to expand a bit and build out, and then it'll be a double distribution on the day. Maybe even a single distribution if we just fill this out by the end of the day. Unsure as of yet. I personally have a much better how do I word this? I personally do better when I visualize the market. I compartmentalize the market, right? So if I can treat this lower range as a D profile, I know how to trade a D profile, right? I'm very good at trading a D profile, and I know what to look for a break out of this auction. So if I can separate this upper auction and this lower auction into two very clear balance zones, then I know what to look for a break of balance in this lower auction, and I know where we're interacting or where we're headed on a break and hold of this lower auction for a push and a rotation back into this upper auction. So for me personally, I find kind of like separating the two and trading them as two separate areas way more helpful than trying to do any sort of like larger what's the word? God, I can't use my brain today. Larger, more like big picture idea. I'd rather analyze them as two separate things. So far, Russell leading down where we thought it would with the loss of momentum. NQ just building between our 600 and our 40. So far, failing to really show any interest outside of this edge. We're just going to be keeping an eye on this area, waiting to see if we can build this out. I'm looking for pretty strong buy-side reactions here into our lows if it's going to hold, and then our rotation back up. So looking for a liquidity grab into this low if buy-side's serious. Again, before you look for longs, watch for a Russell low, right? Russell led this weakness into our highs on NQ, just like every other rotation. So now waiting for this Russell low to step in to let us know when that buyer's back will give you a really great idea of when you should be looking to enter in the market. If this continues to fall, then it's not worth your time. It's really that simple. And maybe you miss a rotation, but at least you're not going to get chopped up or be on the wrong side of a trade waiting. Keep that in mind, that sometimes it's better to have conviction and miss a rotation. Keeping an eye on this RTY low. This is where our POC was before, and where we saw bids step in again. For continued downside, we want to see this move below 51.70 here, our PVZ and value low. Expect this area to be reactionary, right? And what we need to see for sell side is a real willingness to take out this lower region and start to show weakness below, or this is just going to be an oscillation between these two pivots like we've already kind of depicted. What's up, Sauce? So on footprint itself, on NQ, we see that this is where that buy-side liquidity is at our 80 to 90. And this is also where we're starting to see that small little bit of an inflection point here on the Russell. No confirmation yet that RTY wants to show this as a confirmed low, but it is a bit of a lull in the market while we wait. So we're going to keep an eye on this 80 to 90 area for NQ and look to see if it can find a low here at our POC. And if Russell can find that low, giving us an opportunity to bid. I think this is a great first risk off for shorts. I don't think this is a long entry as of yet. We'll watch to see how this 80 to 90 holds. So far, our logic of a D profile into this low is playing, right? We're just maintaining our balance. We rejected our 40s and our ADR and are just rotating back down to POC, right? So our lower profile auction is still maintaining, and there's so far zero interest outside. Yeah, I think that's good sauce. I think that had a lot of confluence with the Russell secondary move down below ADR as resistance and NQ VWAP as resistance for that to make sense for that a bit of acceleration down that we saw. And then, of course, first target just being NQ POC and Russell bottom of range. All right, RTY, what are we doing? Into our value edge now. Looking to see if this can find a low or if we're going to pierce below and start to lead down. Again, bid is very clearly at this 80 to 90 on NQ, but we got to get over 610s again, or there's just a choppiness, right? And then another leg down. Dubs, are you watching stream? What do we see that happened on the Russell here with that reoffer of VWAP on NQ? What's this move here on Russell? What happened? What happened to this buyer? What happens? Offer stepped down, right? And then held. And then we got our acceleration down with NQ lower high, right? And push below VWAP as resistance. Right? So we have a market that's in trend down together, holding where our previous buyer was, is now where our offer is sitting. So when we get this retest here, you get that acceleration down, and this is your NQ look below as well, leading to that move down. So this is that added confluence that I'm talking about. Russell no low, by the way, so expecting this just to continue down. Watching for a retest of our low. I don't really have a great target down here in NQ. I'm just keep an eye on 40 to 50 again. See if a buyer's still sitting there. What's up, Kevin? Again, move stops down as we approach. We're in this 40 to 50 block. We're seeing if we can take out the lows or not. Russell continuing down. It's a good sign. Yeah, I think you probably should. We'll see how we interact into our wick lows. I also have one left from 90. Subflex. I'm treating anything below 60s as a reoffer potential. So just keeping an eye on this area here. See if sell side can hold. Russell finding a small bid as we're holding R30 on NQ. Again, just watching for any sort of reoffer into this 50 to 60 area on NQ above, or Russell into this 46.3 and hold our value edge low. Yes, same thing, 98. Just watching to see if we hold value as resistance. Build out bear flags here. Continue downward. Same thing, Russell. Anything again into this resistance, I just am treating as resistance. I don't care. And then this is just a test into our wick low at 507. There's clearly someone trying to bid here. We just need to see how our reactions. The most bearish responses are what I have drawn out. If Russell doesn't want to hold our value edge, though, then expect this to bid. We look for a rebid here, and then a rotation to fill this LVN back up. It's going to have to be like very clear that bids don't just want to maintain here. Again, if you're looking at this as a D profile, you need to understand that like this is where we expect buyers to be, right? Until we see like a very clear acceptance below, like there's nothing. I should actually draw this out. Here, let's zoom out again. Here. And delete everything on this NQ chart, and then zoom, zoom, zoom. So if we're considering this a balanced profile, what happens into our edge low? What happened into our edge high? Who do we expect to be here into our lows? And who do we expect to be here into our highs? Hmm. So the way that I have this drawn is basically any buy side reactions in this blue box, we expect first risk off to be into this mid, and then we expect this to be a very neutral area. Any look above, we expect a retest of this and then a bid off, and this is going to be either our rebid or our reoffer, right? This is our neutral zone in our mid, and the reason why we have it labeled like this is just this is POC of this distribution, right? So we expect two-sided trading to be occurring here, and are risking off from our lower value sellers to be positioned here, as well as sellers trying to load the boat again to push this thing down. Because what do sellers want to do? They want to establish a value shift in this lower quadrant, right? Between our 80 and our low. And what they want to eventually do is from establishing this area as seller value, they want to then shift value below buyer value for expansion lower, right? And what do buyers want to do? They want to do the exact opposite of this, which is get us back above our neutral zone, right? And build out this upper area and get us above our seller value for expansion back up to our upper auction, right? So as long as we are understanding where buyers and sellers are trying to establish new value, we can kind of get an idea of what we should be looking for. So again, this has to be your first risk off as we approach POC because we're treating this as our value low edge. And we know that a rotation from our value low is going to find resistance into POC, into the mid. We want to see buyers establish above POC for upside, and then we can trade back up into our value high. If sell side is going to hold here, we want to see a very clear established seller hold this and shift value, right? Shift our auction from this being resistance to the mid being resistance. And then from the mid being resistance, we want to then see support going resistance. And then that leads to downside. Until then, expect this to just auction in between these points until we see that shift of value. So that's why I'm just labeling it like this for right now. I don't think that there's a ton here for NQ traders. I think ES move makes a lot more sense. It's still following pathing, and we're just waiting for the Russell to figure out what it wants to do here at our halfway back. Is it going to be able to continue to hold these higher lows and push up for a retest up into this auction pivot above? Or does this lose steam into our halfway back and then start to retest our lows and then kind of push down? Don't think you're going to get a very solid NQ move until we have full market participation, just like the last 4 or 5 attempts. So I think right now you're just looking at sell side trying to establish value lower, right? While we wait for Russell to figure out what it wants to do. Let's see if ES will lead. If it breaks 90s, then probably 80. Again, I think you probably need to wait for Russell to just come back up here before we get anything major. That will be that's what I'm waiting for, at least. I'd like to see a pretty clear reoffer of 90s on ES for this to continue down. Just watch your value edge. NQ coming down into our low here as well, just our value edge. Offer attempting to step down into 520 on NQ. Watch your reoffer into 90s on ES. I'll be right back. Again, I don't touch anything until I see Russell doing the same thing as everything else. Good rejection on RTY and or high. See how we interact at our lows. ES value edge holding so far. $50 seconds until new 15s. In an ideal world, RTY breaks this value low here and starts to lead down into the new 15-minute candle, allowing the rest of the market to follow. Worst case scenario, RTY continues to oscillate for another candle, and NQ is able to hold buyer value low, and ES goes nowhere. Five seconds. I'd really like to see 20s flip. If this bid just wants to continue to maintain 20s, like, what are we doing here? Watching our offer into 20. If sell side serious, we hold this 20 to 30. Russell needs to break this low. Failure here is just going to result in a full rotation back up to 40s. They need to slap this thing down into this 30. Watching Russell into our low. Risking off 1 here from 30 on NQ. 1 runner left as Russell retests our low. Again, I always risk off 1 into our wick low and NQ and Russell pivot. Holding to see if we can push below 500. This is like actually no man's land on NQ, so I don't really have a great target. You've got that liquidity at 485 that I still like, but we could rotate all the way through it. I mean, I just don't know yet. Really relying on Russell to break this low and start to lead down for any acceleration. Watching our reoffer here on Russell into our 45-3. Start balance low edge. See if we can get back in or not. We want a really strong offer here on Russell if this is going to go down. Just retesting our liquidity here into 30s again on NQ. If we can't see a lower low here on RTY, then that's all we get for this move short term, sadly. You see how reactive we are with Russell just finding even just like a little bit of a bounce with NQ fully retracing 30 points. Looks like we just need to trap buyers again off of this failure at the lows so far to me. Don't expect 30s to hold. I'm looking for NQ to be able to put in a higher low here and then trap liquidity back into like 40, 44, and then look back to below off of this failure while we wait for Russell to figure out what it wants to do. I don't think that this is a great long. Just FYI, I just think that people are going to get punished here. That's why I'm looking for something a bit higher over 30s. I think this is just one of those areas where NQ can move a bit more while we wait for Russell to figure out what the hell it wants to do from this low. There's your look. We'll see if this is a trap or not into 44s. I think it's a great first risk off if you are trading it. Let me watch to see if a secondary bid steps in to hold this squeeze, or if we can get back into our range now with this trapped liquidity. If squeeze is going to hold, then we should look for a rotation back up to 570. So watch to see if any sort of bid can hold over 545. If we can't get over 545 and offer maintains and we look back below 520, then I'd expect a new low. So kind of just keeping an eye on that. Squeeze was pretty predictable, but now it's just figuring out what we want to do. If we can hold, right, we should be looking for this rotation here into our 70. Retesting our break of balance, our range, I guess, on NQ here. Really keeping an eye on this 20 to 30. Bid needs to be here. Or again, buyers are just trapped up into our 45 like we talked about. That being said, if you did short 45s or anything up in that high, this is your first risk off as we push down into 20. Expect this to be a bit volatile and before offer either steps down or bids able to maintain. Yes. $20 till new 15s. New 15s opening now. Holding POC a previous candle so far, watching how we interact here between, again, our liquidity at this 20 to 30 and our liquidity at this 45. Trapped in between the two, seller here, buyer here. Watching this bid look above. I'd really like to see this 45 go to 70s if it's going to hold. There it is, out one into 70 off of our 45 bid, just like we talked about. Imagine. Russell retesting high of range here. Watch to see how we offer, if this loses momentum again, or if we can build above. Deleting this pathing now that it's played. Nothing really to talk about. Watching our retest of 45s. Tested into our 70 liquidity for reversion. Russell came back up to our resistance, lost some momentum. Just watching to see how we interact here in our 45 edge on Russell. Can we now hold this edge low? And then can we bid over is what we're looking for. That gives you a new high, right? That would show us a hold of our value now after testing our value high. And then we're looking for a hold above. That leads to momentum up. If this fails, then we're just looking for another oscillation, right? Again, like the movements so far today have been Russell makes a exaggerated leg down, then we have a new area of balance, and we do this oscillation, and then we either break our highs and then rotate back up, or we break our lows and then get expansion downward. But as soon as we start to see that balance start to occur, we then trade around that, giving us nice little rotations on Russell, on NQ. Again, we need to see a look below 20 to 30 for any secondary moves for sellers. This is our pivot, right? I'm sorry if this is a bit too complex or fast for you guys. I'm trying to be as accurate and quick as I can of what I'm expecting and then where it should be occurring.
Hello, Christmas week traders.
Yo,
What's up?
what's up? What's up?
I guess I will actually open the charts today.
If you're playing off of our 70 or the look back into 45s, again, this has to be your first risk off. It's our pivot, just like before. We want to see a very strong reoffer from below this if we're going to continue downward. We expect bid to attempt here. We want to see this look below, and then we want to see offer now try to really defend this 20 to 30. If that can happen, then expect a new low on NQ with now buyers trapped here. Keep an eye on Russell as we come back down into bottom of range. I am 2/3 risked off my short here, watching for a bid into our 20 to 30, and then a strong offer, and then a continuation down, or a clear Russell break and acceleration down from our pivot. Just expecting a bit of chop here, right? That's all I'm saying. So I want to be risked off just in case this chop turns into another oscillation up.
Time to chop for 3 hours.
Again, I'd like to see a very clear offer into the section and then rotation back in, or down into 85s if it was going to go. Look at the Russell pop so far into our low. Keeping an eye on that. Gotta wait for Russell to lose momentum. NQ into our offer here into this 20 to 30, watching to see if we can actually develop a lower high or if it's just going to rotate the range again. We held our balance low, right? So we now need to see if the mid pivot, this being our balance low, that needs to be obvious, our value. We're now watching to see if offer can hold here into our mid and then rotate down, or if this is just going to do another full rotation of our value. And while that's happening, we're looking to see if Russell can put in a lower high and start this channeling down process. The only way we get a shift is if this shifts. If not, then it's just another oscillation. Watching our 45 test, same as before.
5 seconds here, new 15s. Look at you, you're a gamer, man. Yeah. He's heading out, folks. I feel like this has to move like Wow, we had like 10 minutes that this can move, and if it doesn't, it's gonna be not fun.
So in 10 minutes time now at the top of the hour, see the release of the weekly EIA inventories numbers. Crude oil inventories forecast a draw of 0.6 million on the prior draw of 0.934 million, with a range
You
seeing a
sound
build of
so
1 million
excited
to a draw
about
of 3 million.
all of this.
Gasoline inventories forecast a draw of
I
0.5
don't know if
million
I've ever
on the
heard
prior
you as
build of
excited as you sound right now.
2.348 million. Distillates inventories forecast is a draw of 1 million on the prior draw of 3.18 million, and inventories of crude in Cushing, the prior was a build of 0.108 million. Keep in mind at the same time, near the top of the hour, get the Baker Hughes rig count numbers for the week as well. Oil rigs saw a prior read of 483, while total rigs saw a prior of 589.
Forgot to charge my camera. Might as well spend $6,000 on a new one instead of charging the battery. I think sounds good to me. Oh, no. You just replaced the whole camera. Don't be silly.
Yeah, Julian, I'm probably done. Mario's gonna stay on, I think, but I gotta go.
I'm gonna be doing much though. We either kind of like get this move or it's gonna be kind of gross for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, just watch the liquidity into 70s again. Just reversion time. Needs to build above. If you can do that, then you can rotate into these highs, but until then, no shift in value. Oh boy. I don't know. I just like really keep it a move. I'll can't even use my brain. Just keep an eye on Russell. Like Russell's led every downside move and upside move today. And I don't really see that changing. So watch the top of this oscillation, see what happens. If we can break above, amazing, right? Then we know where we're headed. Just back into our previous oscillation. Yeah. All right. I will talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.